Imagine dating this man for 10 years. You and him met when y'all was kids, so y'all are high school sweethearts. Y'all family know each other. Your family really loves him. His family loves you. This is your daughter and son father. Plus, y'all are married. One day, he gets sick, so he has to go to the doctor. You take him to the doctor. He don't want you in the room. You find that weird, but you don't ask him about it. He gets better, and now you and him are living happily ever after. Until one day, he gets struck in a traumatic car accident, which caused his death. You and his family is setting up his funerals. Since he died from the car wreck, his family is trying to tell you do not get an autopsy. But something in the back of your head keeps saying, go get this autopsy. So you finally go get it, and the results come back that your husband have HIV. Hearing those results, you are now sick to your stomach, don't know what to do, who to call on. So, of course, you call on your best friend because this is the person that you've been telling everything to. When you call your best friend, you tell her the news you just received from your late husband autopsy. The only reason you knew to call her because she has HIV also. So immediately get on the phone telling her everything you need to tell her. She then informs you you need to go get checked out immediately. Test results finally came in. You call your best friend like, hey, I want you to read my results. I don't want to look at it. I'm scared and I'm afraid. She then opened up the letter and she reads out the results. The results come back that you are HIV positive also. Let me know if y'all want a story time. Imagine finding out from your husband of 10 years autopsy that you now have HIV. And y'all been getting on my ass about the way I say autopsy. I really don't give a fuck how it's coming out. Y'all know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm a little country now. I'm from Mississippi. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. So stop reaching in the comments talking about y'all feel so bad for me and my daughter. But the people do want to remain anonymous in this story time, so I will give them fake names. So the wife name is Chloe. Her best friend name is Rachel, and the husband is Charles. Chloe had moved down south from up north, so she was new in school. Since Chloe was new, she had on a lot of different shit that down south people would wear. And I mean, she had that shit on. Of course, down south girls were spoiled by their parents, but parents weren't paying no $2,000 to $3,000 to put their kids in the shit that Chloe had on. This was Chloe's 10th grade year in high school, and like I said previously, Chloe was new to the school, had no friends, so she just automatically clicked with this girl named Rachel, which later in the story they become best friends. Weeks passed by in school, and now Rachel family is having like a little cookout. Chloe already know it's gonna be hard for her mama to say yes because she was from up north and her mama didn't play that shit. Her mama didn't let her stay out late. Her mama was very strict on them. Her mama had a reason to be strict. Chloe's oldest brother was in a game, which later caused his death. With him being in a game, they would have like a lot of shootouts, and their house would get like robbed. Sometimes their house would get sprayed. Like every time they would never be in the house, so that was like a good thing. But of course, Chloe's mom and dad was not going for that, so they had moved them down south. Now that y'all know the little background story of her family and why they migrated down south, so now let's go back to when Rachel had invited Chloe to her mom cookout. Chloe had told Rachel like her mama really don't be going for shit like that, with them being new here and really don't know who to trust just yet. So Rachel started to tell Chloe like, my folks are good people. If I need to get my mom or my dad to call you to come to the cookout, they will call your parents, let them know all the information. So of course Chloe was happy about that, but Chloe still told Rachel like, let her be the one that asked her mom first, because she know how her mom showed the fuck out. Somehow Rachel had convinced Chloe's mom to let her come to the cookout. Chloe didn't understand how and why, but she was so excited about going. Her mom had broke down the rules and told her what time to be back home. So now it's the day of the cookout. Chloe is greeted by Rachel at the door. Rachel had told all her family like, hey y'all, this is Chloe, and introducing Chloe to all her family members. So one person that stood out to Chloe is this boy named Charles that they all go to school with. Charles is Rachel's older cousin, which is in the 12th grade. Charles was that man that everybody looked at like, y'all, he was very freaking handsome. Everybody wanted to talk to Charles. Everybody wanted to do things with Charles. Everybody wanted Charles because he was all over, like in sports, everything. He did catch Chloe's eye, but at the same time, Chloe really was a girl that was very modest and very sweet. So them random little thoughts that other girls was having in their head was not in Chloe's head. So Chloe did have a good time at the cookout. She enjoyed the food and the music and the card games that they was playing. Now it's rolling around to the time for Chloe to go back home. Come pick her up from the cookout. Now they're in the car and she asking her, did she have a good time? Come back for the next part. Finding out through your late husband of 10 years autopsy that he have gave you HIV. Part 3. Disclaimer, this is not my story. After the cookout, like shortly some months had passed by, Chloe and Rachel had become closer and closer. Rachel mom had invited Chloe family to her church. Rachel mom is a PK. And if some of y'all don't know, a PK is a preacher kid. So they make it to church. Chloe see Rachel and she goes to sit with her. They have a good service. After church, Rachel family had invited Chloe family to dinner. Chloe had younger siblings. And Rachel was very family oriented. So when they would do things, their whole family would do things together. So of course that was up the kids' alley to go over there and play with the other kids. So when they make it to dinner, Chloe sees Charles. So Charles come up to Rachel and was like, hey, you brought your little friend here today. I ain't gonna lie, Chloe was kind of like happy that he said something to her because she felt as if since she was just a pretty sweet girl that Charles didn't even look at her like that. So that little shit right there made her day. So of course Chloe mom say, I ain't going for that. Like, you know you can't be dating right now. Instantly, Chloe is embarrassed because mama, why the fuck would you say some shit like that? So some months pass by and Charles and Chloe start going together. And I know y'all like, how the fuck they started dating? Her mama was okay with that because she seen that he had his head on straight. Because Charles was a good boy. So now it's getting later to the year and he's about to graduate. Of course, people was getting in Chloe's head, was telling her like, oh, he's gonna go cheat on you when he go to college. Don't stay with him. Trust him as far as your eyes can see. And of course, she was telling Rachel everything that everybody was saying. And Rachel told her like, if he never cheated on you before, what make you think he will now? She was telling Chloe like, do not believe any rumors. And she basically was telling her like, everybody just jealous of you, like a real friend supposed to. Now it's move-in day. Chloe goes to move Charles in with Rachel family. She helping him get everything in. She even decorated a little so bit. It's getting late and time for curfew. So Rachel family is telling Chloe like, come on, I gotta get you back home, especially before your mom trip. She knew everything that was saying was true. So of course she gave Charles a kiss goodnight. So they get on the road to make it back home. Of course she had to call Charles over the phone. Come back for the next part. But I ain't gonna lie, my girl ate this hairstyle the fuck up. Imagine finding out through your husband of 10 years autopsy that he gave you HIV. Part 4. Of course, everybody want to remain anonymous, so we gave them fake names. If you haven't watched the other parts, go back and watch them because they are up. So yes, let's get into it. So I had left off in part 3 where Rachel family takes Chloe back home. So we're going to roll around to the next year, which is now Chloe's senior year. Chloe really was that girl. She was captain of the cheerleader team, and she had made homecoming 3 years straight. This time she made queen for her senior year. Now we rolling around to the end of the year. Chloe telling Rachel how her and Charles haven't been talking that much lately. But she knew Charles was an athlete, so she really charged it to the game. And would be like a little in denial that, oh, maybe he's at practice. So she now telling her best friend Rachel that she want to go surprise Charles in his dorm. Rachel think it's a great idea. Plus, Rachel's boyfriend also attended the same college that Charles' boyfriend attended. Oh, I forgot to mention, since Chloe was a straight A student, she had convinced her parents to get her a car. She just had to make sure her grades stayed up, to watch her siblings after school, and most importantly, be back at home before curfew. So, of course, she told her mama where she was going to go. She told her mama that she was going to go surprise Charles while he was in college. Her parents thought that was a great idea. So, her parents even thought it was a great idea to make him like a little toiletry basket. It also had some of his favorite snacks in it, too. So, boom, the day comes for her and Rachel to take off to the college to go surprise their boyfriends. So, Chloe had been texting her boyfriend all day, and Charles is not picking up the phone. Like, he not even texting her back. So, she then tell Rachel, hey, can you get in contact with your boyfriend and see if he's seen Charles around school? Rachel, of course, was on the side of Charles. She was like, girl, my cousin don't do shit like that. He ain't doing nothing. And if he is doing something, baby, we not finna call his phone. We finna go pull up on him and see what the fuck he doing. Because why he haven't answered your text messages all day? So Chloe like, girl, yeah, you right. Let me go see what this nigga doing. So they go head to the college. Mind you, the college is an hour from their house. So now that they are 15 minutes away, Chloe gets a flat. Now Chloe's trying to think like, who can she call? Because she already knew if she called her parents, they would come fix the car. But of course, they would tell her to just go and come back home. But y'all, she was so adamant of trying to figure out what the fuck Charles was doing at that school and why the fuck he wouldn't text her back all day. So she didn't want to call Charles, but she knew she couldn't call her parents. And like I told y'all, she not from down south, so all her family back up north. Even though she didn't want to do it, she had to call Charles. So at this point, every time she calling Charles, it's going straight to voicemail. So she find it very fucking weird. So now she telling Rachel like, hey, I can't get in contact with Charles, and if I call my parents, I know they're gonna tell me like, just gonna come back home. So of course Rachel didn't want to go back home either, so she was like, I'm just gonna call my boyfriend and he gonna have us back on the road. So she do just that. Y'all, he literally made it there like in 15 minutes. He didn't play when it came to Rachel, and he also was respectful of Chloe too. But of course, when he got there, he was like, what y'all doing down here? You didn't tell me that you was going to come see me. So, of course, Chloe looking like, where is Charles? Because Charles and Rachel's boyfriend was inseparable. So she get the asking question like, hey, where is Charles? So he haven't seen Charles after practice. He don't know where Charles is. So she still find that weird. But at this point, her tie is fixed and she going up there to the school. So they finally get up there to the school and she goes straight to Charles' dorm. Y'all, why Charles in that bed? But it's the way that Charles looking. Charles looking like he already expected Chloe to come down there. So when Chloe got in the room, she like, hey, babe, why you wasn't answering the phone? Like, what's going on? Of course, he trying to reassure her, like, ain't nothing going on. Hey, I didn't see your text. I've been in the room sleep. Not knowing that Rachel's boyfriend had already told her, like, I haven't seen Charles since practice. So she don't tell him nothing about it because she already knew she was going to go through that phone. So she was just praying that Charles had fell asleep. Charles did not fall asleep none while she was there. Instead, he was trying to have, you know what, with her. But like I told y'all, Chloe was a good girl and she was not giving it up. Especially when her parents let her have the free time to go down there. So, of course, Chloe just telling him, like, no, we said we was going to wait till we married. Just of course, no. Charles respected it. But now it's rolling around to the time where she have to leave. Come back for the next part. Imagine finding out from your husband of 10 years autopsy that he have gave you HIV. Part 5. Y'all, now it's time for prom. And Rachel is asking Chloe what color she's gonna be wearing. Because she already knew her and her boyfriend was gonna be wearing black. But of course, Chloe gave Rachel that look. Chloe had a certain look that she would give Rachel when her and Charles haven't talked. Since Chloe had came back from Charles' dorm, everything had became slow with them. Like, she would text him good morning. He would wait till the middle of the day just to text her back. Like, they went from getting on the phone every night to not even getting on the phone at all. She just didn't know what that was about. So to keep her mind off of that, she would spend more and more time with Rachel. She would still be around Charles' family because of Rachel, of course. But it would just be awkward because Charles wouldn't be around. So she finally get in touch with Charles and she would tell Charles, like, hey, prom coming up. Are you coming? Charles would, like, give her the runaround. So, of course, she already had it planned in her head like she's going to prom by herself. Her mom and dad would ask her, like, why Charles not coming? And y'all, she would lie to them and say he have a game or he'll have practice, something like that. But mind you, Chloe did not lie. Chloe was a modest student. She didn't do none of that. So she felt like kind of strange to lie to her parents about Charles, but she just didn't want them in her business. So prom come and Rachel is looking good with her date. And Chloe just feeling some type of way because Charles was supposed to be there. So the whole night she is blowing Charles up. But instead of Charles answering the phone, he would text her back. So of course, Chloe was happy just to get a text back because she haven't heard from Charles in a minute. So she was cool with that and she went on about her night and had fun at prom. Before prom had ended, they had announced Queen and King. And of course, Chloe had won. So this other guy who liked it, Chloe had won King. We gonna call him James. So of course when you win King and Queen, you had to take pictures together. So James had put his arm around Chloe in the picture. So they had posted the pictures on social media. Of course, Charles had seen it and he was hot, baby. But whole time, how can you be hot when you ain't even answering this good call? But okay. So after prom, she had to go home and argue with fucking Charles. Charles like, how can you do me like that? I knew you was cheating with him. Blase, blase. She telling Charles like, hey, I was not cheating. Like, you was supposed to be here. If you was here, you would have seen that I wasn't cheating. Like, what's up with it? Mind y'all, Chloe and Charles never had a fight like this, ever. So Chloe was like hurt. Chloe was crying so bad that she had ruined her makeup. And she wanted to be left alone. Like, she didn't even go out after prom. She went straight home, got in the bed, crying. Boo-hoo crying. So she thought the next day when she'll wake up, everything would be blown over. Absolutely not. When she woke up, she got messages from Charles like, hey, I just want to break up. Like, I can't take the cheating, all of it. So they broke up. The last few little weeks was tough for Chloe because she was still devastated about her and Charles breaking up. Now it rolls around to graduation. Chloe already knew that she was going to see Charles there, so she was kind of a little happy about that. Of course, she see Charles there, and he wanted to talk to her. And by talking, I mean they got back together. So now the scholarships are rolling in. And Chloe and Rachel both get a scholarship to the same college their boyfriends are going to. Of course, Chloe is happy as hell. So Chloe already knew what college she was going to attend. And so did Rachel. Of course, they attended the same college as their boyfriends. So now Chloe thinks everything will go back to normal since both of them attending the same college. So now it's the first day of school. And Chloe and Rachel are totally lost. They don't know nothing about college. They don't know where their classes at. None of that. But still, they stuck it out together and they figured out everything they needed to know. So we're going to fast forward some months into college. Chloe had got her scholarship with the cheerleader team. Rachel had got her scholarship with academics. So with that being said, most of the time, Rachel and Chloe will be separated. The only time they will see each other is in a dorm. Because most of the time, Chloe will be somewhere either practicing or at a game. And Rachel will be somewhere studying or with her boyfriend. So this one day, Rachel had overheard some girls talking about Chloe. Chloe was the good girl and Rachel was the one that was turned and ready to do it. So she couldn't figure out why the girl had Chloe's name in her mouth, why she did not like Chloe. The lady, we're gonna call her Jasmine. Remember all of that. So let's fast forward of how her husband died. So her husband died from a car wreck. His injuries was so bad and he needed a blood transfusion. Since he was losing so much blood, they needed that blood transfusion now. They couldn't find his blood type. So this resulted in his death. So while all this is happening, Chloe is getting a phone call from this unknown number. But when she answered, it was Rachel. So at this point, she's trying to figure out why is Rachel calling her. Because she haven't heard from Rachel in 10 years. But before she could ask Rachel why was she calling, she hear Rachel is crying. So she asking Rachel what is wrong, like what's going on. So Rachel get her the news like, hey, you need to come to the hospital real quick. More than likely, Charles is gonna die because they cannot find his blood type. So y'all, she kind of lost like, why the fuck the hospital didn't call her first? Why the hospital had called the family before the wife? Because how the hell did Rachel find out he was damn near on his deathbed before she found out? Come back for the next part. Imagine finding out from your late husband of 10 years autopsy that he have gave you HIV. Part 6. So when Chloe make it to the hospital, she see the whole family Of course, there. Chloe is shocked at the moment. So of course, Chloe go to the back. She trying to figure out what her husband is. Just trying to make sure everything is okay. Because the news she heard on the phone is that he need a blood transfusion. So she thinking he's still alive. But whole time, he is deceased. They had called the whole family up there, called more relatives that she haven't even met before they even thought about calling her. So now that they are at the hospital, it's time to plan a funeral. Charles did not have a death wish, but Chloe was prepared just in case something happened like this, so she did have him on life insurance. Also, Charles put himself on life insurance like a month prior to all of this happening, y'all. So she already knew she was financially straight. So of course, like I told y'all, Charles had died before Chloe even got to the hospital. So Chloe just knew like some shit was not adding the fuck up. So she had asked the family like what was the state he was in before she made it up there. And I ain't gonna lie, the hospital really wasn't trying to get her no answers. Because the hospital was like so familiar with his family. His family was big people in the city. So when she asked questions, they'll just like brush it off and say like, oh, he wasn't gonna make it because his injuries was so severe. Or some shit like that. So this what made Chloe say, okay, let's go get an autopsy on him. So nobody in his family knew she was getting an autopsy. So now his funeral come. Y'all, it's a lot of people at this funeral. Like I said, Charles' family is well known. So it's people from the church, it's his family, it's friends of the family there, and it's faces that Chloe just do not know. Some years prior to this, Chloe had lost her mom and her dad. I think like a year prior, Chloe had lost her dad to a heart attack, and her mom had passed for like a heartache. So Chloe is at the funeral like consoling everybody. Nobody is really there for her but Rachel. And like I told y'all in the last part, her and Rachel haven't talked in 10 years. So now that the funeral is over, they go to the repast, everything goes well. She's getting to talk to his family. Like they sharing great moments of Charles. So now the repast is over and Chloe's now got to head back home with her twins. This is really like the first night that she really just sat back and thought like, oh, my husband is really not coming home. Like when he first died, she was being like very in denial about it. But now after the funeral, it just like set in her head like, okay, my husband is really gone. So a week had passed by. And of course, Chloe is still sad, but she's kind of getting back to herself. She had started taking the twins like out. Twins had started playing with their friends. Like I said, nobody was really there for Chloe. Until this one day, like Rachel started back talking to Chloe. Rachel had told Chloe like, despite our differences, like we need to get back friends. Like it really brought them closer after Charles' funeral. Chloe happy as hell because she just want her friend back. So with all that going on and they finally getting back to themselves, Chloe don't even notice that the autopsy haven't even came back. So she just chilling one day and finally the autopsy come back. So a little recess right quick. Y'all go follow me on all my platforms. Most of them you could find me at Stina Lachey. And my YouTube is Stina Lachey Officials. This is because if one of my videos was to get took down, I'll be posting it on YouTube. So yeah, back to the story. So yeah, she going through the autopsy to see was it anything she haven't heard. Because what happened in his death? Like I said, she find it very fucking strange. Every time she asks like what happened to her husband, they give her the same story, but it just don't sound good to her. Because be for real, why the fuck y'all call everybody to that hospital before she even got there? So at this point, Chloe's reading the autopsy. While she reading it, y'all, she going back to the time Rachel had called her. She comparing the time that Rachel had called in the time of his death. Y'all, why Charles was already dead before Rachel even gave her a call? Rachel was on that motherfucking phone making it seem like, oh, Charles might die if he don't get this blood transfusion, and whole time this man is already dead. So when she make it to the hospital, her husband, Charles, he had already been dead for 2 hours. So she continued to keep going through all the autopsy. Y'all, why she find out this man had HIV? So of course, Chloe is breaking the fuck down. Chloe is sick to her fucking stomach because she like, ain't no way my husband of 10 years, the the only person that I ever had sex with have HIV. I told y'all Chloe was very modest. Chloe haven't had sex with nobody else but her husband. She even waited all her life to have sex just to turn out this motherfucker had HIV. So, of course, y'all already know. Chloe don't know who the fuck to turn to because, like I said, her parents is dead. All of Chloe folks is still up north. Of course, Chloe had younger siblings, which is now grown. But she still didn't want to, like, interfere with them because they had moved back up north. So, Chloe had waited an hour before she called anybody to tell them the news because Chloe is sobbing. She finally get herself together and she called her best friend, Rachel. Y'all come back for the next part. Imagine finding out that your late husband of 10 years autopsy that he had gave you HIV. Part 7. So Chloe calls Rachel. When Rachel get on the phone, Chloe is back. So crying. Rachel like, girl, what's going on? What's going on? So now Chloe is telling Rachel what she just found out from the autopsy. Rachel is like, girl, what? Please, friend, go get checked. And Rachel like, if you want me to go with you, I will. Because like I told y'all, Rachel also had HIV. Chloe makes her appointment to go get checked. So now finally her results are back. Chloe called Rachel and tell her like, hey, I want you to be over here when the doctors read out my results. So when the doctor called, Rachel tell her like, put it on speaker. She puts it on speaker. So Chloe had got tested for everything. Everything had came back negative except for HIV. Y'all think Chloe could see the way she was in that screen? Y'all, it was so bad that Chloe had feel like they had to put her in the hospital. So with her going to the hospital, she had to stay overnight. So she had called her siblings like, hey, I need somebody to watch the kids. Make sure they get on the bus in the morning. They come down from up north. They make sure the kids get on the bus in the morning. And they just really stay there and make sure Chloe is okay. Because like I said, she had just lost Charles. Family did not come to the funeral. So they was just going to sit there and make sure everything was all right. So when her family got to ask her what she was in the hospital for, of course she didn't tell them what she had at just found out. Nobody know but her and Rachel. At this point, she is now being released from the hospital. So of course, the first person she want to talk to is Rachel. So she called and she tell her like, hey, come over to my house. So Rachel finally get over there and they watching movies like having a great time. In the midst of this, Chloe just busts out crying. She's still trying to wrap it around her head like, how could Charles do her? So she basically said like, how can he do her that way when she trusted him with her body? The only person at that. Like, no way he had this. And now she's saying like, ain't no telling how long he had this. So at this point, Chloe is ranting. So she gets to rant so much that she started getting loud. But while she getting loud, she noticing that Rachel is not even paying her no attention. So she like, Rachel, you okay? Like, what's going on? I know me and you had our differences in the past, but we will be here for each other. Like, I finally understand like what you are going through. So Rachel say, it's something I gotta tell you, Chloe. So Chloe like, what is it? You know you can talk to me about anything. So Rachel busts out and say that she got HIV from Charles also. That Charles had R-worded her. So Chloe is confused. Chloe like, he can't have, but it do explains why she had it. Come back for the next part. Imagine finding out through your late husband autopsy that he have gave you HIV. Part 8. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, but I'm really trying to go and finish it, but I'm just going to say part 8 because I don't know if I'm going to finish everything in this one video. So in the last part of the story, I told y'all that Rachel and Chloe have been fucking with each other, and she just not finding out that Rachel got HIV from Charles also. So at this point, Chloe feels some type of way. She really don't know, should she be sentimental to Rachel or should she be mad? So Rachel had contracted HIV in college. When Chloe first had heard the news, she tried to reach out to Rachel even though like they weren't friends anymore. So Chloe feels some type of way about just not figuring out who gave it to her. Chloe like, how could you let him give me this, let alone let me marry him when you knew like he gave this to you? Like, how are we best friends? So basically Chloe like, you could get the fuck out of my house. Like, you got to go. I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for you. Rachel trying to get Chloe to let her explain. Rachel trying to tell Chloe, I thought you already had it, to be honest, because y'all was already married when he raped me. Chloe and Charles had got married in college. Before they got married, Charles had went to his granddaddy to tell him the news. Yes, the same granddaddy that is a preacher. So, of course, when the granddaddy heard that shit, he did not go for that. He did not want him to marry that girl at all because they family had a little bit of money. And Chloe's family really didn't have nothing. I know I told y'all Chloe used to have that shit on in high school. She was getting all of that stuff from her big brother. I told y'all, the same big brother that was slanging that iron and selling it. But after her brother died, they didn't stop nothing. Them members still would come over to make sure like her family was straight. And to protect her younger siblings, that's when her mom was like, hey, we gotta move down south to a slower life. So y'all go follow me on all my platforms. All of them is named Stina Lachey. This is for if a video was to get took down off TikTok, I will go post it on my YouTube channel. Okay, now back to the story time. And that y'all know all that, let's go back to when Charles had told the granddaddy that he thinking about marrying Chloe. So, of course, the granddaddy was livid. He did not want that shit to happen. He tell Charles if he was to go through with the marriage, that he would cut him off from all family ties. Charles didn't care. He still was going to marry Chloe. So, at this point, they get engaged and they get married. Months in them getting married, Chloe finds out that she's pregnant. So, at this point, Charles got to find a way to provide for his new family that he's finna have in some more. While he's doing that, he go back to the grandparents' house and he tell his granddaddy, like, hey, I done got Chloe Chloe pregnant. Granddaddy is not going for that shit. So the granddaddy did not want Charles to throw his life away. He did not want him to quit school or quit playing ball. So before the granddaddy became a preacher, y'all, he was that nigga in the streets. He would have people touch with the snap of his fingers. And that's what he did. He called his homeboys up to beat some sense into Charles. His homeboys had beat up Charles so bad that they couldn't even recognize who he was in the hospital. Charles had to undergo surgery because of his injuries. After surgery, they finally come in and they talk to Charles. While they talking to Charles, they tell him like, hey, we noticed that you had bleeding in your Whoever had beat you up had raped you too. So they telling him, hey, we still have time to do the Of course, Charles did not want to go through with that. He getting defensive. He telling them, ain't nobody touch me, ain't nobody touch me. He don't want nobody to know. So at this point, they call the family. When the family get there, Charles say nothing to the granddaddy. Charles told Chloe like what had happened. Because Chloe had midterms the next day, and her school was an hour away. She just told him that she would come after her midterm. He's telling Chloe if she don't make it, it's because his family got him. Fast forward to when Chloe's in the hospital. She's having her daughter, and she finds out that she has a son too. She having twins. So at this time, Chloe moves in with Charles because Charles had got them a house. She's still doing school. She's just doing it online. So one day, Charles had to go to the hospital because he had failed at work. So at this time, this when Charles get tested. Charles figure out that he has HIV. So Charles go to the granddaddy. He like, hey, niggas that you had to jump me, they raped me. So the granddaddy like, nah, ain't none of that shit happened. Like, you a lie, you a lie. Like, basically, he don't want Charles to tell nobody because he's the preacher. So he had told Charles, like, you cannot come around the family anymore. So Charles feeling some type of way. So now, let's fast forward. Because all of this just happened within some months. Y'all remember how I told y'all that Rachel goes to a different school because her mom had transferred her. So when Charles had got into this little accident, Rachel did not come back home from school. So now it's like the summer break. Rachel is just not getting out of school and she finna come back home for the summer. So of course she want to link up with her family member. So she texts Charles like, how I'm gonna be in town, like, what's up with, like, let's go out. So they make it to the club. When they get in the club, Rachel know that Charles is drinking. She never knew for Charles to drink like that because, like I said, Charles was athletic. But she feeling some type of way, like maybe it's because Charles had got in an accident, somebody beat him up. Because at this time, the family don't know who the fuck beat up Charles. So after the club, they go back to the grandparents' house. The grandparents wasn't there because they was going to a church convention, which means they was going to spend the night wherever they was because of Charles is her best friend. She don't think like she have to watch him. But when she woke up the next morning, she seen that her clothes was off and she was bleeding. I really thought this was going to be the last video. But since it's not, come back for the next part. Imagine finding out through your late husband autopsy that he have gave you HIV. Part 9, disclaimer, this is not my story time. And hopefully this be the last part because I'm ready to get done with this story time. But anyways, let's jump right on into it. So the last part I left off at is when Rachel had woke up and she seen that she's clothes is off. So let's rewind. When Charles and Rachel make it back to the house, Rachel is talking to Charles about the little accident. Charles is her best friend, so he getting to ranting. He telling Rachel like, hey, granddaddy the one who set that up. That was his niggas that, you know, that whoop-de-whoop me, all of that. So he get to telling Rachel like, and I got raped. So she like, huh, you got what? He like, yes, I got raped. And come to find out, whoever me gave me HIV. So she looking like, you know them niggas that jumped you. One of the niggas, we gonna call him Big Homie. Big Homie stayed in prison all his fucking life. Like, he was known for that shit. Like, back then, it was okay for niggas to be, like, nobody was hiding that shit. He would just fuck with, like, girls and he would fuck with men because he had been in prison all his damn life. So everybody already knew, like, what it was with him. So whenever the granddaddy would call him to go beat up people, like, he would beat them up and, like, rape them. So they knew not to fuck with Big Homie. So Rachel kind of confused because she like, why granddaddy have hump to you? But at this time, Rachel is believing everything that Charles is telling her. So her and Charles at the house, they start like having drinks and she like trying to get him to drink some water because she telling him like, hey, we don't need to be drinking. But he just steady convincing her like, hey, just drink with me because I haven't seen you in a long time. Like, just drink with me. So this is when Charles had to slip something into Rachel's drink. And she telling Chloe, like, I did not think I had to watch my own cousin around my drinks. Then Rachel continued to say, I even had to, like, quit college because months later I found out that I was pregnant by Charles. So when she found out she was pregnant, like, she's happy because she's thinking, like, this is her boyfriend, baby. Her and her boyfriend, they go to the doctor to see, like, when she conceived and all of that. And immediately, like, the boyfriend noticed, like, hey, this is not our date. And she noticed, like, it went straight back to the date that she had got by Charles. So at this time, she telling, like, I got to abort the child, like, she had got. So he feeling some type of way. Like, she tell her mom moved her back home to get closer to her. And, like, he's okay with the abortion. Like, her mom's okay with it. Everybody's okay with it. So at this time, she don't tell, like, her mom who it was. Like, she basically tell them, like, hey, she had got by anybody that one night she was out at the club. So at this point, Chloe puts her pride aside. Chloe's like, okay, like, I'm so sorry that this ever happened to you. I just wished you would have came to tell me. Like, I wish that our friendship would have never ended. So she getting to telling Chloe, like, yes, I wish she didn't either. Like, my family had said little rumors about you, and that's the reason she had to transfer from the get-go. And she feeling like, I knew that the family stopped fucking with me, but I didn't know why. And I was okay with that because as long as I had my husband, I was okay with it. So they boohoo crying. They spend the night with each other and they get themselves together in the morning. So after Chloe calls the husband to come get Rachel the next morning, he come over there. He like, hey, is everything okay? Like, are y'all good? And Chloe basically telling her like, watch my best friend. And he looked like best friend, like, oh, they must be back talking. Like, this must was a good night. And he like, okay, that's cool. Okay, come back to when Chloe goes over there to the family house because this story time is getting long, and I promise y'all this will be the last part. I promise. Imagine finding out through your late husband autopsy that you now have HIV. Last and final part. So I left off in the last part where Rachel's husband come get her from Chloe's house. So for some reason, Chloe cannot get everything off her mind that Rachel just told her. So she want to go over there to the grandparents' house and go get some understanding. She get in her car and she pull up. When she get to the grandparents' house, she start praying in the car. Because she like, God, just please be with me while I go get some understanding. Please don't let me put my hands on these folks. So Chloe go up there and knock on the door. They're not coming fast enough for her, so she start ringing the doorbell. Charles' grandma come to the door. She greet Chloe like, hey, is everything okay? Chloe like, so you knew your grandson had HIV. And this the reason you didn't want me to get no autopsy on him? So the grandma is like, what are you talking about? Chloe like, y'all knew. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And I came over here to get answers today. So at this point, grandma trying to get Chloe to come in. But Chloe's still at the door screaming and yelling. Grandma never seen Chloe like this at all. So Chloe over there starting all kind of commotion. So while they doing all of that at the front door, so this right here make the granddaddy come to the door. So the grandma like, what? Like, what is she talking about? The granddaddy talking about, hey, you need to get from our doorstep. Chloe like, I'm not moving no fucking well. Like, you got me fucked up. Mind y'all, they stay in a quiet neighborhood. The neighbors call Rachel mom. They telling Rachel like, hey, you need to get over here to see what's going on over there. Because if you don't, I'm probably going to have to call the police. So Rachel mom tell her like, come on, let's go see what's going on. So when Rachel, her mom, and her husband make it there, they still in the front door arguing. So when Rachel walk up, she notices that Chloe's over there. Granddaddy is still trying to get Chloe from the front door because he know exactly what Chloe's talking about. So he trying to make it seem like Chloe's losing her mind. She's still going through it because she's grieving Charles. Chloe is like she just needs some understanding. So at this point, this when Chloe pulls out the autopsy. This why y'all told me not to get this. Because y'all knew I was going to figure everything out. So the grandma is confused. She's like, baby, let me see that. Because the grandma never knew. She just was going under her husband's wishes not getting an autopsy. So at this point, the grandma is starting to realize, like, oh, so this really why the husband did not want her to get an autopsy. So when Chloe pulled up over there, she did not know that the family had and by company, the same niggas that jumped They Charles. Was over there paying their respect to the family. So by this time, everybody is outside at the front door. At this point, Chloe is going off on the granddad. She was like, so the night that Charles was in the hospital, you the reason that he was in the hospital, you paid some guys to, basically beat him up. So the grandma was like, what is you talking about? So the grandma like, is this true? Is Chloe this true? Like, yes, it's true. Ask your husband. He know exactly what I'm talking about. So at this point, Chloe is spilling everything. So Chloe is like, you basically got some boys to jump Charles because you didn't want him to marry you. The reason that Rachel had to go to a different school because you didn't want her around. Y'all, when I say she telling it all, she's telling it all. So at this point, the homeboys that was in the house, yeah, granddaddy homeboys that jumped. We're going to call the one that gave him HIV, we're going to call him Big Homie. And we're going to call the other one, we're going to call him Unc. So Unc like, come here, Big Homie. Come to the side for me. Let's talk right quick. So Unc asked Big Homie, what did you do? Because I remember this night that she talking about. You was the last person seen with Charles. When we got done beat him up, you was supposed to make sure he got home. Did you... Charles, that's all I want to know. Y'all, before this man could even say a word, Unc took off on Big Homie. So at this point, they is over there banging. So y'all, while they over there banging, Chloe still spilling. Chloe came to that house to tell everything that was on her mind. Chloe was looking for answers. So Chloe then say, Charles had Rachel and got her pregnant and gave her HIV. So like I told y'all, Rachel mom and her husband did not know. So they like, what? So Rachel mom like, no, you gonna stop with this lying. Like, this why I didn't want my daughter around you in the first place. Like, she getting all in Chloe's face. So at this point, Chloe like, Rachel, tell him. So Rachel's husband like, is this true? Like, what's going on? So Rachel like, mom, it's true. It is true. So she telling them that Charles had raped her and gave her HIV and got her pregnant. So her mama like, what? Like, you couldn't come and tell us that? You told us it was, a stranger. And at this point, her husband is like in denial. He can't believe this shit really happened because, like I told y'all, he was friends with Charles too. So at this point, Chloe's still pointing the finger at the granddad. She like, you caused all of this. Y'all, he's still denying this shit. But at this point, Unc turned Big Homie loose because they didn't notice they over there fighting. So they asked them like, what's going on over there? And Unc say everything that Chloe is saying is true. Big Homie did Charles. He like, we was supposed to jump, Charles, jump some sense into him. That's what, the granddaddy wanted him to do. He told Big Homie to make sure Charles got home safe. Instead, Big Homie had did whatever, as in raped him, and left him for dead. So, y'all, this was too much for the grandma to hear. So, the grandma had fell out. They had to take her to the hospital. When they got to the hospital, the first person who came in there to see her was the granddad. So, the grandma had told the granddad, like, I think you need to resign as the preacher, and I'm filing for divorce. So, yeah, I know y'all gonna have questions like, what happened to the people in the story time? So, Rachel is the person who sent me the story time. Shout out to you, girl. But Rachel was like, her family never got back right after that. She still talks to her granddad. I think nobody else in the family, like, forgave him. Rachel is very godly. She feel like life on this earth is short, and she think people deserve like second chance. Baby, she way stronger than me. But this story time ain't about me. I know some of y'all probably wondering like what happened to Chloe. Chloe later and it's died. So sad because y'all, they are in their 30s, not so they 40s. Still young. But this just was her testimony. So she want to encourage y'all to go get tested, even if you married. And yeah, y'all, check out the braid. So if you like the way I braid, I think I'm going to do an ebook showing everybody like how to braid. So help me come up with the prices in the comments. Bye, y'all.